Welcome back to another episode. Today I'm gonna review the ATARI LYNX handheld system, Model 1 and Model 2, plus some of the games that I have for the system. And let's go!
I wanna play video games. I wanna play them all day. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The ATARI LYNX was originally developed by a company called Epyx. And Epyx was a software company which created such classic titles as Summer Games, Winter Games, World Games, California Games 1 and 2, and also Impossible Mission 1 and 2. And in 1986, Epyx decided to create a handheld system with a color LCD screen, which should be a world's first. The project should be called Handy. Now, in 1987, Epyx was still working on the project, and as far as I know, they even built a prototype of the handheld system Handy. But Epyx didn't consider the high costs for developing a system, so Epyx didn't have the money to finish the project, let alone to release the system. But Atari showed interest and bought the rights of the hardware. They changed a few things, they renamed the system to Lynx, and they released the system in 1989, 1 or 2 months after the Nintendo Game Boy. Now, the ATARI LYNX is the world's first color handheld system with a backlight display, and it is the only handheld system worldwide which has a display flip option, which allows players to use the system either right-handed or left-handed. Technically, it's an 8-bit system, but it also has some 16-bit coprocessors inside. It has also hardware scrolling, which allows graphics to zoom in and out, and allowed also pseudo 3D graphics on the system. The ATARI LYNX Model 1 was sold with an AC adapter, a Comlynxcabel, which is basically a link cable to connect two Lynx handheld systems together, and the game California Games, at a retail price of $180 back in the day, which was a very expensive unit, especially if you compare it to the Nintendo Game Boy, which was sold at that time for $90. Okay, first let's take a look at the ATARI LYNX Model 1. So this is the ATARI LYNX Model 1, and you might already notice two things about the system, or at least my system here, is number one, it isn't in mint condition. As you can see, the paint starts chipping off the system, and the other thing is that this is a very big handheld system. And I'm gonna compare it now to other handhelds, like here we have the Nintendo Game Boy, and yeah, the ATARI LYNX is almost twice the size as the Game Boy. Then here we have a Sega Game Gear. It's almost a little bit bigger than the Sega Game Gear. Also thicker than the Game Gear, and just for fun I'm gonna compare it to the PSP Slim. Okay, but now let's come to the system. Okay, on the left side we have the D-pad, and yeah, it feels okay, it works great, so yeah, it's not bad. Then over here we have an on and an off button. This is the 3.5-inch display or screen. Over here we have the option 1 button, then the pause button and the option 2 button. If you push pause and option 1 together, you can restart the system, and if you push option 2 and pause together, then you can flip the display, like I mentioned, to play the system either right-handed or left-handed. And here we have the action buttons B and A, and also B and A on the bottom. So normally as right-handed you play like this, or flip the display and you would play it left-handed like this. And over here we have the speaker of the system, and the system has only mono sound. On the bottom here we have a brightness control. On the right side there is nothing. And on the top we have the port for the AC adapter, the port for the Comlynxcabel, port for the headphone jacks and the volume control. And also the sound on the headphone jacks is in mono. A few words for the Comlynxcables or for the port is that the system is capable of connecting up to between 16 and 18 ATARI Lynx systems together. I say between 16 and 18 because some people say you could hook up to 16 ATARI Lynx systems together, others say 17 and others say 18. I personally think it was 16, but in the end it doesn't matter because the games must also support up to 16 or 18 gamers. And in the end there are only a few titles, I guess 2 or 3, which support a maximum of 8 players. So in the end it doesn't matter. Now on the bottom of this, or better let's say on the back of the system, you have the battery cover, and the system takes 6 AA batteries. The battery runtime is very poor on this system. With 6 new AA batteries you could play up to between 4 and 5 hours. So yeah, this was a very huge power sucking handheld system, and compared to the Nintendo Game Boy, the Nintendo Game Boy only needs 4 AA batteries, and with those you could play, I guess, between 8 and 9 hours. So yeah, this was a big minus on the ATARI Lynx. Okay, and on the left side of the system there is the cartridge slot, and this is how the cartridges look like. As you can see, this is Hydra, and Hydra is an action game where I drive around with a powerboat. And yeah, the game reminds me a lot of Live and Let Die, the James Bond game, if you ever played it on the Commodore 64 or the Amiga or Atari ST or whatever. But yeah, very thin, the cartridges for the system, and actually this is the third model of the cartridges, because the first cartridges that were released were completely flat and they had kind of knobs on the top of the cartridge so you could stack them together. And after that they released the second model of the cartridges, which were actually the same like the first model, but they also had some grips, small grips or lips in the end. And yeah, this is the most common one. This is the third model of the cartridges, or the third generation of the cartridges, and those have those lips because the gamers had problems taking out the cartridges out of the system, and I have no problems putting one in. Okay, now here we go. And if you have this lip or grip, you could easier take out the cartridge of the system. Okay, now I just quickly turn it on to show you the flip option on the system. Yeah. As you can see, you can play now left-handed. Okay, this was the ATARI Lynx Model 1. Now in 1991 Atari released a redesigned Model 2. And yeah, as you can see, it is a little bit smaller than the Model 1, but it is actually a little bit thicker than the Model 1. And yeah, on the left side we have the D-pad. It is a little bit better, or I would actually say some gamers or players prefer the ATARI Lynx over the Model 1, ATARI Lynx Model 2 over the Model 1. I personally like the Model 1 a little bit better. I have no idea why, but yeah, I like the Model 1 better than the ATARI Lynx 2. Then over here we have the on button, we have the off button and a backlight button. And when I first got my Atari Lynx Model 2, I thought this one was broken, because normally you would think you can just turn off the backlight of the system, but in the end, if you press the button during the gameplay or anything, the whole display goes black. And thanks to another fellow YouTuber, Retro Gamer VX, I now know that first of all my system is not broken, and second of all I know what this button is meant for, because when you push the pause button on the right side or while playing, you can then turn off the backlight and save battery battery energy on the system. Okay, but now let's continue. On the top you have a small power LED which shows you when the batteries become weak on the system, then it blinks. On the right side we also have the option 1 button, the pause button and the option 2 button, and same thing, when you push option 1 and pause, then you restart the system. Pause and option 2, you can flip the display. Also B&A. It also has a mono speaker, or better let's say the sound is also mono, but actually the sound, or better let's say the speaker, is much more louder on the Atari Lynx Model 1 than on the Atari Lynx Model 2. I have no idea why this is, but yeah, I guess it saves more battery life, I guess. Okay, on the top we have the volume control, the headphone jack, the Comlynx port, the AC port and the brightness control. Weird thing is that this time the headphone jack is in stereo, so if you play it without the headphones it is mono, if you put in headphones then you have stereo audio. On the back you have the cartridge slot, and yeah, I have a second copy of Hydra. Also normally on the back you would have rubber grips. I don't have them because when I bought the system the rubber grips weren't included for some kind of reason, but yeah, it doesn't matter really. I mean, I can play also without the rubber grips. Then on the left side there's nothing, on the right side there's nothing, and on the bottom there you have the battery cover, and yeah, also again 6 AA batteries. Very interesting thing also was when they redesigned the Atari Lynx, they increased the battery runtime on the Model 2 from 4 to 5 hours gameplay to 5 to 6 hours. It's not big, but yeah, at least it is an increase in battery runtime. Okay, now what else can I tell you? Yeah, it also has the same display, or better let's say the same display size, 3.5 inch. Yeah, I heard a lot of people saying that the screen, or better let's say the display, is also improved on the Atari Lynx 2. I never noticed anything, but before I started this review I actually tested it, and the only thing that I recognized was that the Atari Lynx Model 2 had better contrast, or had better colors for on the display. And yeah, let's just turn off the lights, and I hope I can show you. 1, 2, 3. It's actually not very easy to record the Atari Lynx gameplay on the camera. It really doesn't do perfect justice seeing the games through the camera. The games actually look better if you play them for real. So yeah, keep that in mind when I show later the games for the system. I can't really... no. So this is Atari Lynx Model 2, Atari Lynx Model 1.